Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Of course, we are talking all things bar one racing, Irish Laurels, because on Saturday night the Derby of the South, the Curraheen feature, got underway, and of course, some exceptional racing as you would have expected, some very competitive racing. But it's fair to say that those at the top of the market didn't do themselves any harm. I'm joined as always by the exile dub Tommy Lyons. I say as always, he's had a couple of weeks off, but he's back and he's rearing to go. And of course, we're also joined by the hardest working Greyhound correspondent in y'all. Sorry, Tommy, but Barry Drake is also with us here. Of course, both
Jesus.
men were lucky enough to be at Curraheen Park on Saturday night and saw these dogs up close and personal. Barry Drake, good to see you. Welcome back to Talk of Dogs on a Monday. This is your time of the year. It's the time where you put the hard yards in, and you were at Curraheen Park on Saturday night and witnessed some fantastic action.
Yeah, that's right, Ian. Ian, great to be on again. And as you said, look, it's an exciting time down here in Cork. You'd be running out the door there on a Saturday evening and rushing to the track and looking forward to some top class racing. And it certainly didn't disappoint on Saturday night. And we'll talk about some of these performances, I'm sure, over the course of the next couple of minutes or so. But yeah, look, it got off to a flying start. And, it's going to be a great competition over the course of the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Tommy, there's no point beating around the bush. You know, the Laurels and the Ledger this year were affected by the Derby. There's no question about it. There are a few dogs missing that you would have normally expected to be there. We needed the big guns to go through, and thankfully most of them did. It will end up being a tremendous Laurels again, I have no doubt. It's certainly going to be very competitive, although the likes of Tribal Sid did nothing wrong the other evening, a seeded runner, and they are few and far between. He's going to have his draw every night, and given his early speed, I think he's a very deserving favourite. But there's no question, there is a little bit of dead wood there, but week on week they'll slowly disappear, and all of a sudden you're going to be left with a very strong crop. The final 24 could be very interesting.
I just have to say before I start, I met a fella the other night in well, I know very well, in Curraheen Park, and he said, geez, that talking dogs thing. He said, started listening to that the last couple of weeks. It's not the worst thing that the GRI have ever done. And I think that
Tommy's
corresponded with
missing.
me being off for 2 weeks. So he said, this might be his last time watching it, but anyway,
There, that's a real,
yeah,
that's
look,
a real, that's a real Irish compliment. It's not the worst thing the GRI have ever done.
yeah, actually, it reminds me of a time when it was when somebody involved in the horse racing said to me one day, "Just the examiner's a great paper for pictures." I was like, yeah, thanks very much. But anyway, you go back to the Laurels Inn. It was great, and the funny thing was, I said to Barry as we were down there before the first race, I said, I don't think this track is on fire tonight. Looking at it, and the 2801s and 2802s, I actually think they're better. They're even better than that, would you believe? Like there is, you're right. Definitely every competition that has 5 or 6 rounds is going to have a lot of dead wood in it. That's just the nature of it. You've got to feel it. You can't get 72 or 96 top class greyhounds. They don't exist. All at the one trip and the whole lot. But there were enough big performances to say that in a couple of weeks' time, when the wheat is separated from the chaff, that we'll have a great laurel. So I think that's the way it will work out. Or yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the best way of putting it. The aforementioned Tribal Sid kicked off proceedings. We'll race through the heats and then we'll come back and have a sort of an overall look at things. Tribal Sid, a pretty hot favourite in the opening heat, 1-2 Barry, and it was over after 2 strides. Once he comes away on terms, we know what his early speed is like. What I loved about it was he was straight and through into that opening corner. Yes, he takes a more racing line on the bend, but he will go up very straight from trap six, and he has stunning early speed. This was a dog who was a bit of a late developer, but what a year he's had.
Yeah, look, his recent form is there for everyone to see. And as you said, look, he came away racing from trap number six. He's going to have his draw every week. Of course, five was giving him, plenty of room as well. It was moving in, but it was all one way traffic up front. And there's probably only two or three dogs in the entire competition that can do 15-90 into the third corner. And as you said, look, he's a deserving favourite, comfortable success, and what a way to start the competition for trainer Mert Leahy and his owner Martin Costigan, who've made the trip to Cork over the course of the last couple of weeks, and he's getting great enjoyment out of it as well. So yeah, deserving favourite and very much the one to beat in the competition. I
On
think.
Tommy, it's a theme we will talk about a little bit later on. Two wides, three middles left in the stake. Tribal Sid is one of the wide seeds. he'd be pretty unlucky now to draw Hazel Hill Bucko next week or the week. Well, he can't actually. He can't really draw him until the final. That's the way it's going to be with the separation of seedings. So, by all accounts, it looks like Tribal Sid, for as long as he stays in the competition, is going to be wearing his beloved stripes. And for that reason alone, he probably deserves to be favoured. I know, you'd sooner your dog painted on with the red jacket in Cork. That's normally the way it works. But when you have dogs like, let's say, even in this heat, Antigua Eclipse diving in from trap five as an inside seed, and that could happen for Tribal Sid on more than one occasion. He's going to have a lot of clear passages.
He is, yeah, he is, yeah. I would have one small issue with the draw that was done the other day. It's not a major thing, but I don't know if it's a new policy or what. But they obviously they're separating the seeds, so they say, okay, we'll draw the two wide seeds first, and then they were heats 1 and 2. Now some dogs don't kennel very well, and it might be an advantage to I'm not talking specifically to these greyhounds, but I'm just saying in general they might kennel a bit better, if you know what I mean. The two wide seeds were guaranteed to be in heats 1 and 2.
Are you suggesting they draw lots for where the seeds
Yes,
go in? Yeah.
I suggest you draw all the heats and then you draw the numbers of the heats.
I like
Just
that.
just for entire fair
I haven't.
fairness.
I must say it's something that hasn't really dawned on me in the past, but it does make sense. Otherwise, it is another sort of advantage for the wide seeds because they are always
Ian,
drawn first. Yeah.
it might be no advantage whatsoever, and they might be the best kennelers in the country. All those, I'm not saying specifically to this or that, but I'm just saying, in the interest of fairness, with the Derby coming up and the likes of that, I know we'll have more wide seats and whatever, and probably be probably be an entire kind of full round of seeds. But if that's going to happen as the rounds go on, just something that needs to be looked at. I think anyway, just in the interest of being fair. But anyway, it didn't make any difference to this because the second Tribal Sid broke, it was all over. Now Barry's I don't get into sectionals until the big competitions. And Barry said about the 1590.
He did. He said about 1590 before he hung. He's gone for us for a moment, Barry. 1590 to the third bend, 328 into the opening corner. At that point in the evening, we would have thought that's it, done and dusted. That's going to be the best we see for the night. We'll get to that a little bit later on. In behind them, Lemon Mick was in second, Antigua Eclipse third, and Danish Ruby in fourth spot. We'll move on to the second heat. Evolution. This was one of the dogs I thought was a bit overpriced at the start. He had been running in very good company in Shelbourne Park. And again, he showed what he's about. He's all about trapping ability and terrific early speed. Evolution racing from trap four. And he shot out, cut to the fence, and got loose early.
Yeah, it was another likeable performance. He started off his career down in Cork in the Dennis Linehan Solicitors unrace stake, and I think it's fair to say he's learned a lot and progressed so much over the course of the last couple of weeks. And he could develop into a big player for outright glory, but you'd like to see him draw into the fence in trap number one. I think he's got a good draw. I think he's in one next week, but yeah, look, he was diving for the inside early. Good performance up front. I think it was 16:06 and 28:20. And if you were a supporter of him, the outcome was never in any doubt. Hazel Hill Bucko showed a lot of pace in second as well. That could be a ground that could go a couple of rounds. But yeah, it was all about the winner.
Hazel Hill Booker ran very well through the ledger. He has good early speed, and again, he is going to have his draw, much like Tribal Sid. The Tapper Flynn, I thought, showed loads of pace back in third spot. I've written pacey with a couple of stars on it. Flew down the back straight, really did stay on strongly. Obviously, he knows his way around Curraheen Park, and that stands to him, but he's a strong runner.
Yeah, he sure is. Look, he's got one or two big runs over 5.75. So, if he can get racing room early, he's a greyhound that could go another couple of rounds. He's trained by Pat Kiley, and he's given his owners, some couple of really good nights. So, yeah, nice to see him go through as well.
On to Heat 3. This is the third of the heats in the Bar 1 Racing Irish Laurels. Tommy, welcome back to us. We'll get back to your point in a moment. Crafty Chavu was a winner of Heat 3. This lady, of course, having her first Irish start since winning the Sporting Press Irish Oaks a couple of years ago. She looked an absolute potential superstar at that point. She went to the UK and she did prove herself to be something of a star. She ran so well in this year's English Derby. The story appeared on, I think it was Thursday or maybe Wednesday or Thursday on the Racing Post that this lady had been retired and she was going back to Ireland for breeding. Within 48 hours, she'd had a trial. She's down to Pat Norris. She's entered in the Laurels and she's installed joint favourite in some places. Someone didn't get the memo, Tommy, but I think we saw what she's about here. She showed great early speed after being slightly squeezed at boxes. It wasn't one that like halted her progress that much, but if she was in a position where she wanted to sulk, she could have, but instead she burst through, went to the front and wins easily in 28:36. You know, you'd given the circumstances, the fact that she's only over to Ireland, she's only had the one sprint trial around Curraheen Park, her first look at the place, and I thought it was a perfectly satisfactory run.
I think it's better than 28:30:16, to be honest. She got a bit of a bump. She took a step to the right before she moved in a bit on the run up, and just got a bit of a bump then, and it nearly shunted her forward, to be quite honest about it. And you know what, her record in England is exceptional. She won 16 races. I think she was only beaten 3 or 4 times. I don't know how many exactly, but she won most of her races over there. She clearly knows how to win. I would suggest she's probably possibly and potentially even better than she was when she won the Oaks last year. I really like the performance. Really, nothing, no negative about it whatsoever.
Yeah, Barry, she was a popular choice, 4-7 in the market. Was she any bigger?
No, I don't think so. I think that's the best she was. Obviously, look, she was one of the standout entries. I think she was quoted as joint favourite in one or two places prior to the competition, and it looked a good opportunity. And she certainly got the job done in fine style. Like yourself, Ian, I was surprised when I see her in the draw. But what an addition to the competition she is. We were hoping maybe to have a chat with Pat Norris after the race, but he never came back in for the presentation,
Pat,
unfortunately.
Pat is not what you call one of life's great talkers. He's a bit
Yeah.
shy in that sense. He prefers to do his talking on the track, and Crafty Chauveau certainly did it. Behind her, Get Up Me Lad was second. I thought he ran okay for Mark Robinson. Nice dog. A couple of good runs around Shelbourne Park. Fay Point Harvey. Are we at a stage now where we know his weaknesses? He just doesn't get to the corner quick enough. He doesn't lead enough in races. A dog with huge ability and showed real promise early in his days. But I think Tommy, he's probably just going to be a yard shy for this sort of company.
I think so because he has a 3:31 in Curraheen and didn't lead that night, and there's going to be there are 3:23 already being done, and that's where you're going to be. That's about a length, even if you're a length or potentially 10 or 12 spots behind going to bend, you have an awful lot of ground to make up, and we'll see that when we talk about some of the heats later on. Actually, funnily enough.
Yeah, we certainly will. In fact, in this heat alone, in Heat 4, we move on. Our Cracker, this is the dog that came in for plenty of support, as he always tends to do in the early rounds of competitions. He was an even money favourite. He popped out, and you think to yourself, well, this is all over. He just couldn't quite get to the bend. Butterbridge Roy showed good early speed to get up his inside. Our Cracker's balked on the bend. He remains second. He comes through to land the spoils in 28:55, but it could have been oh so different. It was very similar in the opening round of the English Derby. He flashed out, led to the corner, got clipped in behind, and the laddie da was left clear at that point. So our Cracker, again, he's a real professional. He's a good starter, but just against Laurels type greyhounds, Tommy, he's going to need to get the length of boxes because he's not going to find it into the corner.
No, and you know what the biggest concern is that he's getting caught into the corner by a dog that was doing 3:36.
Yeah.
That's the concern. If he was being led by a 3:23 type dog, you'd say something that's fine because that we kind of know where his limitations are in terms of early pace. He was well back 6-4 into even money. There were a couple of big hits at the just before the off of the race. He ran very well and determined, but I think just what showed was his class. And then again, Barefoot and Fire got caught up in a little bit of traffic around the last two bends and was running a big race as well. He's a type that they're both type of dogs that you would say will probably qualify deep into the competition. Although if you ask me which one will get further, I'd say Barefoot and Fire for the reason that our Cracker is more likely to put himself in trouble, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean, by the fact that he can break.
Barefoot and Fire could be much like the other evening. Like he's last into the corner, last in the second bend. Um,
No,
he tends to find his way through runners, and he's probably a stronger running greyhound than our Cracker. Even though our Cracker has been tremendous over 600 yards of late, but Barefoot and Fire, as you say, isn't going to flash out and be caught into the bend and be knocked about. He's probably going to find himself in behind dogs looking to pick his place, whereas the other dog might just find himself in traffic.
that's exactly it. Like you would imagine that the Bear from Fire can obviously break a bit better than that, and he can probably go to the bend reasonably well as well. And his old form will show you that. But I would think that he's the type of dog that we know what he's going to be doing, whereas our Cracker is going to break, and that's one of the most frustrating things in greyhound races. If you're a greyhound that breaks but doesn't get into the bend and then stays on again because you're bound to get a bit of buffeting, and that's in race on race, and hopefully he doesn't because he's a terrific dog and he's a big he's a big help to the quality of the competition, because as you said beforehand, it is impacted by the Derby. So we need greyhounds like that. He's a track record holder, for God's sake. You know what I mean? He's a
Yeah.
terrific dog, but I just worry about him. And the other day, if you were there the other night and you were saying, yeah, look at this dog, he's got real class, but I can't see him winning the Laurels.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. As you said it there. Barefoot and Fire and Our Cracker, the longer they progress, the better it is for the competition.
Oh
Yes, you'll
yeah.
be picking dogs to beat them because they will be caught short when it comes to the real speed into the opening corner. Behind them were Butterbridge Roy and Blast Off Rex. On to the next of the heats, and this was a stunning performance by a dog that we sort of expect to see stunning performances from, the other Kobe. The feature with the other Kobe has been in his last two competitions that he's probably run out a little bit of steam in the latter rounds. But Barry, the other Kobe, a Derby champion, of course, he's gone 4 years of age. He's long gone 4 years of age, but he's still a very classy individual. 328, 1589 from the draw, fastest to the third bend, 2802. That's what you want a Derby winner to achieve.
Yeah, for sure. Look, probably got the loudest roar of the night as well. Bookmakers were on the back foot heading into this race. They were keen to take him on, and there was plenty of customers and even money there late on, and it was a top class performance. Because obviously he flew out of track number 6 and just made the corner. He was moving in the whole way, and I think his value for more than 28 or 2 on the night. You could see him drawing the inside. He would have went under 28 seconds. So it was absolutely top class. Great to have him in the competition. Of course, he was a recent winner in Limerick in 2018. He was sent off a short price for the recent €5,000. Jimmy Barry Murphy and Bear One Racing one off race at Curraheen Park. Things didn't go to plan on that occasion, but no mistakes on Saturday night. And as I said, one of the headline acts.
Yeah, Tommy, form is temporary, class is permanent.
Yeah, and you know what he had shown in Dundalk in particular, I think that was one of the hottest Bar One Sprint Cups I've ever seen. I thought the depth of quality was sensational. It was just a brilliant stake, enjoyable from start to finish, and the fact that he was able to perform at that level at that age. I know he's a Derby winner, and we probably should say he should be able to compete at any level, but that's the ultra sharpness around that track. That's just
Mm.
he showed that he could do this. The bookmakers, as Barry said, they were mad keen to lay this lad. Even money they went, and then when they took plenty for even money, they put it back up again and said, "Come on, take another pop at us." And people did, and he got the biggest roar when he. No, look, took him the length of the straight to get a length in the quarter. I'd say is what I would say for the. I was up on the right hand side of the near the first bend for that he. I'd say it took him nearly length straight to get kind of length in the quarter up on his rivals, but like it was over that stage. He's a terrific dog. Like the point I was making earlier on, I just lost the internet connection, was that this is what will make it very, very good, very competitive. We can get him against the likes of Tribal Sid. If he's doing 1589, Tribal Sid is doing 1590, the advantage is obviously with the dog on the inside. And the 2802 and 2801, so Tribal Sid came home a tiny bit better. But you'd probably have lost the link by having a greyhound inside you when you're both doing those sort of sections anyway. So it's like it's provided we can get the right dogs, plenty of top dogs to qualify, we'll have a great Laurels.
Yeah, absolutely. In behind the other Kobe was Bambi's Lady, ran very well for a long time, beaten 8.5 lengths, but I think it ran better than that. Tinaho, Papone, and Seek the Kingdom were the other qualifiers. Moving on to Heat 6, 20 to 1 winner. I was looking at the percentages in that other Kobe race, and I was going an even money chance, 3 to 1 chance, 7 to 2 chance, 4 to 1 chance, and the two outsiders are 5 to 1. Percentages and all that. But we did have a 20 to 1 winner, and it came in Heat 6 with Trina's Tribe landing the spoils. And it has to be said, there was nothing lucky about this. Romeo Taylor broke. You'd have expected a dog with his early speed to perhaps get the corner, but Trina's Tribe showed loads of early speed to just maintain his position up the inside. Took it up sort of before the second bend, and once doing so, ran out a comfortable 2.5 length winner. Lots to like about this, Tommy.
I tell you what, there's something very interesting, but lots to like about it. Let's not take away anything from the winner before I talk about it. Robert Taylor broke well enough to get around. He just couldn't. He's only about half a length up, and it's enough to get kind of rubbed. The winner ran a really lovely bend and strong bend to win it. The one thing though, that before the race, I think I was saying to Barry on Saturday night, there was thunder. As far as I'm aware, there was thunder at that, just as they were in traps. There's an awful lot of barking as the dogs were in traps. And I just wonder were they affected by it. It was only for that few minutes that there was thunder. There was kind of a real dead heat in the night, and not surprising. You normally get a bit of thunder or thunder lightning with it. I just wonder, did it impact that heat? I would say that you could maybe look at that heat again, and I wouldn't take anything away from the winner. That's not the point. But the point is that say the likes of Romeo Taylor, Ardira Sam, Faye Point Sydney, I think they can all improve nicely on the effort.
Yeah, Graham Holland had second, third, and fourth. Or, yeah, second, third, and fourth. With Romeo Taylor, Ardira Sam, and Fate Point Sydney. Ardira Sam coming through for third spot. He was the even money favourite, having impressed around Curraheen in recent weeks. I thought Fate Point Sydney showed loads of pace, actually. He flew into the third bend, was forced to check his stride. He's going to need to sharpen up in the early yards, but he's capable of going up that little bit faster. Just keep him on your radar, certainly in terms of heat betting going forward. Romeo Taylor. He's a better draw the next night. He could be popular. On to Heat 7. And this went to, where are we? Drumbeg Bear. It seems like we get talking about young Evan McAuliffe a lot these days, Barry. Another fine performance by one of his project, or one of his crew, Drumbeg Bear. Just a thoroughly professional display from the inside, 28.60. It's not a flying run, but he did everything right.
Yeah, definitely. I know you were singing his praises, and rightly so, over the course of the Ledger. It was great to catch up with Evan in Curraheen Park on Saturday night, and he was absolutely thrilled to get on the score sheet in the opening round of the Laurels. Yeah, 28.60. He'll probably have to improve on that to keep qualifying, but he's got lovely early pace. He made full use of the inside draw early on, just slipping around in front. Lovely pace down the back straight. Not the strongest coming home, but they were delighted with that and safely through to round two. And yeah, nice run.
Yeah, Pronioni is a good guide in second spot. He's a regular at Curraheen Park. Superfast Gordon, the 1-2 favourite. He got balked at the opening corner. It's not a bad balk. It was like it's bumping and whatnot. He showed pace afterwards to qualify in third spot, but he's a change of seating for the next night. It'd be interesting to see if he gets sort of one or two. He does tend to check off the corner a little bit, and yes, he's too far out in 5 or 6, so you can see why there is a change of seating. I'd say they're hoping for him to get the middle. Tommy, any thoughts on the heat?
Yeah, Superfast Gordon is obviously the concern was that he got trouble, but the real concern of the trouble that he got was that he got it from the dog that was in fourth place, despite the fact that he led up,
Hmm.
kind of hesitated a little bit on the bend. But but actually, the funniest thing about it was, if you said, "Did you see a little bit of class somewhere on the night?" I would have said it was super fast Gordon. There was just the way he galloped at one point of the race. I can't remember exactly where it was, but I was just in this where I was in the stands. I would look at the pace this lad has. Like, he has massive pace. I can't see him win the Laurels because of the way he got done by the dog that was in fourth place. Like, that's the worry. If it was the one in front again, it's a bit like saying the 323 and the 336 dog caused you trouble. This is the dog that came from behind him to cause him trouble, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
not a top open dog. So that would concern me. But God, was there a flash of brilliance about his effort, despite the fact that he was third as well. Now it was 1 in 28.60, so a dog of his ability is going to be showing something. But there's just, you see something and you go, yeah, there's a bit of class there. There's class in Superfast Gordon, but again, he's another one I probably don't see winning the Laurels.
Yeah, he's a dog with loads of pace and ability. He's in trap three the next night, but he's surrounded by pace, like High Trend and Romeo Control up his inside, Lemon Mick, Ardera Salmon is outside.
Yeah,
It's a cracking contest. On to Heat 9. This went to Droopy's Bookham. Droopy's Bookham. I was impressed with this. He took a
he's
bump at
eight.
traps. He's edging inwards. Huh?
You skipped the heat there.
Oh,
Road
Heat 8.
exit.
I skipped these. Went
Eight,
ahead,
road
went ahead.
exile.
Road exile, road exile. While Super Gordon was beaten at odds on for Pat Buckley, road exile justified even money favoritism in Heat 8. And I think this was nearly as professional as any display we saw on the night. Tommy, Droopy's Polish tried to come to him at the last bend and he kicked again to win by 4 lengths in 28-26. Just a nice professional greyhound.
Week in, week out. Kind of, I thought he had dipped in his form there. Was it in the early stages of the bar one?
And then, yeah,
Um,
took off
sprint,
then
sprint,
yeah.
sprint, and then yeah, and you were kind of still kind of hot on him during that competition. In fairness, and he did come out the following night and post a big time. That showed that he can still do it. This was exemplary. This performance, actually, because I thought Troop is Polish or Polish, whichever you like. Um, I thought he ran an exceptionally good race and really put it up to Road Exile and could well have, did threaten at a lot of stages of the races, but at Road Exile, it's not that he kicked away. He just maintained a very strong gallop to do 28-26. I would say as well, the track wasn't getting faster. This is a big run now. This is, again, it's a better run than 28-26 even. Track wasn't getting faster as the night went on. I don't think it was as fast as the other night in general, even though we had 28:01 and 28:02. Um, this is a big run from Road Exile.
Barry, hard not to be impressed with him. You suspect that he will be one of the big players going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it was a great performance. He's going to be probably well drawn as well. Throughout the competition, and he's just a super greyhound. Of course, he rocks up at all these competitions, and gets the job done. And that was the second leg of a Pat Buckley double, of course. And real smart run.
I'm somewhat surprised that there's 5 dogs ahead of him in the anti-post market. I'll be honest. Whatever about Tribal Sid and the other Kobe, Crafty Shavu, Romeo Taylor, Evolution, there's an argument to be made that he could be ahead of all 3 of them in the betting. He's 11-1. I think there's worse. I think there's worse bets in the competition. Road Exile, it's just a really thoroughly likable greyhound. And Tommy, as you said, he's after finding form in the latter stages of the Bar One Racing Irish Sprint Cup, and here he is in the Bar One Racing Irish Laurels, and just a perfect display in one of the later heats. As you say, track wasn't flying. That was probably suggest, the Drombeg Bear certainly looked better than 2860, that it was going just a little bit back as the night went on, which is the norm at this time of year because the temperatures from the start of night to the end of night could be 6 or 8 degrees difference. Road Exile doing everything right. In behind him, Droopies. I think we'll stick with polish. Atlaka Arteta and High Trend, of course, the defending champion, back and forth. Nothing went right for him. He got all sorts of crowding. He actually ran well off the second bend to get through in the fence to move into fourth spot, but he just hasn't quite looked the same greyhound this year. But do not rule him out because Graham Holland has a habit of getting these dogs back to form, and certainly at a track that he really appreciates. Heat 9, Droopy's Bookham. I was really taken by this fellow. He only wins ahead, but I thought he showed all sorts of pace. Like that 28:62, give him an inside draw, could easily have been a 28:22. He's very strong. He's obviously a brother to Callaway Nagare, or Kinnagar, should I say, Kinnagar. And Droopy's Bookham, mad for the fence. Wasn't prominent into the opening corner, but runs a good corner, slips into second spot, and then is too strong in the end for Scarborough Fair, who've set a very strong gallop. Tommy, talk about Droopy's Bookham and Scarborough Fair.
Good performance by Droopy's Bookham, but again, he wants inside, and probably his lack of early pace is going to be an issue. He seems to love 347. They tell me his 2 sections in his 2 trials are 347 as well. If that's right, and I was told that before the other night, that would mean that would be 4 times out of 5 runs. He has a 335 in there, which he did from trap one. He's going to have to find a length and a half in the early pace department to that'll be enough for him to keep qualifying, if you know what I mean, because he's strong.
Yeah,
He's a
he's
nice
very
dog. He's
strong.
had 3 runs and 3 wins. He's found a way to win each time. It's because Scarborough Fair ran a fine race and forcing to put out all the stops. Again, it wasn't a lightning split from Scarborough Fair, but it was still a fair run. It's probably in keeping with the sections that Scarborough Fair have been showing in Newbridge. A 105 is probably something equivalent to a 341, wouldn't it be? You'd
Yeah,
expect him
well,
to break
yeah.
1 second in Newbridge.
Funny, it looked faster to me. Yeah, it did look faster to
Yeah,
me, which sort of somewhat surprised me. It was only a 341. Like if you told me it was a 335 or a 334, I'd have gone, yeah, that's about right. He showed
yeah,
lovely early speed, but Droopy's Bookham in the end too strong, and I like the way he had to maneuver his way into positions, and
yeah.
he's just a nice dog. Like his brother, the juvenile Derby champion. I think this fellow has a bit of a brain on him. There's no question. Like he picked his spots. He knew where to go and where not to go. Barry, Droopy's Bookham, he was returned 4-1. Was there any sort of support for him, or was it all for? Well, Romeo Control was the even money favorite. I made Untold Dollar favorite, but I would have been wrong.
I'd say not. Look, obviously he was stepping up in class into Laurels company, but he had a nice car, 2 from 2, as you said, very well bred. Callaway Kenny Gard, there's Droopy's Plunge, who's broken 28 seconds. Droopy's Maximus is 1 or 2 big runs down in Waterford. So, super talented litter. Tracked well early, as you said, and stayed on well. He looks a 550 Greyhound could be a big run on him some night in Shelbourne Park if he drew one in a 550. But yeah, loads and loads of speed. He'd be just a small bit concerned about his, lack of early pace. But yeah, nice Greyhound for Johnny Lennon.
Yeah, Romeo Control went up second, but for the first time around, Curraheen Park actually did look like an 85-pound greyhound. So they just found himself a little bit tight of space, checked off the opening corner. That left the lovely gap for Droopy's Buckham. On to Heat 10, Crafty Alejandro. They've thought an awful lot of this fellow for a long time. A half brother to a certain Crafty Kokoro. Not quite similar racing style, more from the Pastana side than the craftier or cockier confident side. This fellow's about early speed and pace down the back straight. He disputed lead into the opening corner with Drombeg Rio on the outside. And once going to the front on that bend, he quickly put in daylight between himself and his rivals. Again, 28:44. But I think that's down again to the fact that track probably wasn't flying towards the end of the evening. But Crafty Alejandro, a good winner for the Divleys. Drombeg Rio ran well in third spot, but he was picked up by Droopy Supply down the back straight, who showed loads of pace, didn't find an awful lot up the run in, but three nice dogs, Tommy, and better to come from him, you'd suggest.
Yeah, and Barry's probably the man to talk about this one because I think he thought this is probably the best of the night, was it? Barry Crafty Alejandro. Very good run. I think anybody who's been watching the dog in Curraheen in the last, I think that might have been his fourth one. I think we made a debut in Curraheen. Um, just it went from being drawn middle-ish to going into trap one, and that was like there you go. Now that's like the green light on the grid in the Formula One. It's like the green light. They all want to jump in and back it. Just on the prices, actually, just the previous rate. Truby's booking was 4-1. But I think there's a Johnny Linehan factor with the tote. I think it went off even money or something close to it. We're definitely
Oh my
favoured on the
gosh.
tote anyway.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay, that makes sense. Barry talks to me, Crafty Alejandro. You fancied him. I think from the draw, I would have fancied him too. I'm surprised he wasn't even shorter, to be honest. Even money, did everything right. That 28:18 at Shelbourne Park that night. That's not when the track was absolutely flying. Just a really nice dog.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it looked a golden opportunity. Drawn to perfection in trap number one. Really, really slow starter in two. Maybe it's main danger drawn a bit far out in trap number four. So yeah, it was probably one of the better shorter priced greyhounds on the night. And with Julia obliged enough to speak to Shane Dively after, has a couple of much faster trials done. So hopefully it can produce that in the coming weeks. And if it can, it could develop into a leading player. 28:44 in the clock. A lot to like about it, and yeah, one of the better runs on the night for sure.
Yeah, I'll make an admission. Until I went looking at the heats again yesterday afternoon, I thought Heat 11 had been won by Radical Harry, who in the end was a non-runner. It was replaced by Grange Clare lady. Of course, she's bred in the purple Droopy Sydney Susie Sapphire. No surprise to see her showing early speed into the opening corner to get the better of Joe's Wink, who had led to that point. She forced her way to the front and went on to win the 28:42. Her issue in Shelbourne has been holding on to a lead. Cork is just that little bit speedier, and she got on the bunny, taking on dogs that want to be in front. I would suggest that the 5-2 is a decent enough return price given her early speed. She has shown loads of early speed around Shelbourne Park, and once she did get to the front, she went on to win at 28:42. Barry, nice display. Good to see one of the Susie Sapphires down there flying the flag.
Yeah, definitely. And that was the Owen McKenna double completed on the night, and she was called in from the substitutes bench. She wasn't initially in the draw, and Owen saying that after they were hoping maybe for a bit of back grade, and I think she was due to come back a grade, and I think they had something penciled in, and that happens so many times. Yeah, look, once she slipped around in front, she did take a step to the right at the opening corner and came together with trap number 6, Joe's Wink. But once she sailed on down the back straight in front, it was always going to be a comfortable success. Got plenty of speed. Sure, we were kind of following her progress as well with her trials with Yorkie Ollie before he made his debut. So that can tell you how talented he is when he was putting her to bed with so much ease. But yeah, look, lovely run. I'd be concerned about her next week though. She's drawn in trap number one. I think she has a habit of kind of moving off at the opening corner. So, but yeah, look, comfortable success and 28:42, another big run.
Yeah, she has a tricky draw on one, but she will edge off to the middle, you'd suspect. But there's not an awful lot of early speed in the middle of the track, of the road exiles on the outside. So she'll give him plenty to think about into the opening corner. Tommy, I would suggest you keep this one on your radar because unlike many of them, she really is open to improvement. This lady was only starting to find her feet. And I'd suggest there's better than 28:42 in her.
It's better than 28, 40 for definitely. She's only a September pup. You know what? I was a dope bit like you who thought Radical Harry won it. I took down the reserve in the night and put down C, and I looked it up quickly and the back of the card, and I went Bristow. That's no chance in the Laurels heat. That was the Shelbourne reserves I was looking at. I never even realised until after the race it was when he's there at 80.
That's one of those admissions you didn't have to make. Whatever about me being
Um,
in Shelbourne, I don't get the weights and runners for Cork, but no,
they,
for you.
they, they need to have two separate cards, Shelbourne and the Curraheen.
Yeah, that's what happens in Shelbourne. We get the separate one for the Intertrack service. In
Yeah,
behind was Joe's Wink. He showed lovely early speed. Like he does a
he
3:26
has
in the
that. Yeah.
opening corner. Yeah, he's terrific early speed. Gaytime Elmo was the 4-5 favorite. I was looking at his card and I was wondering why. Barry, can you explain why he was such a short price, Gaytime Elmo?
Jeez, I'm surprised actually to see that no 45. Might have had a big trial or two done. He's a big local greyhound. Maybe they went for a bit of a touch. He trained by Karen Lynch, owned by a couple of
Yeah.
local supporters. Yeah, I wasn't
Well,
following that stage, but yeah,
it's not half the time in either, Ian, because Barry and I I was there with a couple of other lads from Curraheen, and we were asking the same question before the race the other night.
Yeah,
We were
yeah.
thinking it was the wrong favourite. Now show pace, did show pace, but it
Mm,
wasn't. It wasn't that he's laden with full open class greyhounds. Let's just say that.
yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. On to the last of the 12 heats. Strike It Pete. Again, a display of early speed, 3:28, 16:26, 28:52. Lots to like about this, Barry. He's an 82-pound dog. Well, he was 82 pounds in his trial. He's returned. He was 81 pounds the other evening. Did everything right. Really did like him, the way he ran. Romeo Falco picks up Ballycount, or goes round Ballycount Connor to finish second. Ballycount Connor back in third. A 12-1 winner, Strike It Pete. Certainly didn't run like a 12-1 chance.
no, definitely, and definitely not unfancied either. I can tell you that. Ian, he's owned and trained by a young lad called Ryan McCarthy, who's a regular at Curraheen Park, and he's produced a couple of real nice sorts over the course of the last couple of years, and clearly knows the time of day. And I'd say this one now was primed to win the first night. Had their couple of quid on. They thought it was a good opportunity, and they got the job done. 28-52. Look, their family great regulars at Curraheen Park. I think his grandfather was a good trainer back in the day. They're there every Saturday night, all the family. So this was a big local success, and I think it was, from a local perspective, I think this was the standout. Running the night 28-52, and
Yeah.
I spoke to Ryan after. He was absolutely thrilled. He said I think he done 30-61 down in Tralee for 570. I think he might have only been a length or two off the track record. So they were confident that he would run well, and he certainly did.
It was the eighth fastest time ever for the 570 around Tralee. The track record is 30:40 bobsleigh dream. That was absolutely flying the night she did that. There was a couple of track records done that evening. I think that could have been the time where Balnabola Ed claimed his first success down that night. But
Yeah,
that 30:61 really is a hell of a run for the 570 trip at Tralee. It's the 29:19 trial that probably why it was as big as it was.
but
But no, in fairness, yeah, it didn't
yeah,
look like a 2019 dog the other night.
he done a 368 split on that occasion. So obviously something
Okay.
actually happened early, but I think he only purchased the Greyhound before that trial. So yeah, look, exciting times ahead for sure for the family.
Yeah, Tommy, don't suppose you were on a 12-1.
No, I was not. No, no, I wasn't punting the other night. No.
Yeah. That's it. 12 heats done. Gentlemen, it's a cracking Laurels. Tommy, we'll talk about the two wides, the three middles. It's something you'll be looking at. Would you be looking at the middle and wide C's, or would you be venturing elsewhere?
Um, well, I'd probably venture elsewhere. I mean, again, the point I made there is either they're in heats one and two, the two white seats. I'd probably venture elsewhere. I don't know. There has to be a bit of value somewhere else. I was impressed. I was impressed with the bitch. Really was. I did. Like when they're talking about retirement and she's capable of doing the 331. I think she's capable of doing quite a bit better than 331 as well. On the sectional wise and the 28-36, she got a bit of a bump, and I just could see a bit of improvement in her from that run because haven't come back to Ireland and maybe not even had time to settle in or anything like so. I don't know. I thought she
Yeah.
was very impressive.
The talk that she was to be retired and, going forward, then to run her in the Laurels suggests that, she probably hasn't been stopped. She hasn't been suppressed. Therefore, there is still a chance she could come in season. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If that was on the
yeah.
radar. So that's my only sort of one concern about that. She has drawn trap six, Barry. She's going to need to be doing everything right, but she's definitely going to be greatly helped with the presence of Antigua Eclipse in trap five. He dived for fence in the opening round. He was up against Tribal Sid. So Crafty Shivu does have a good draw the next night, but she's going to have to go some to lead the likes of Evolution and Drumbeg Rio into the opening corner.
Yeah, definitely. I'd be concerned about her the next night. No, I think that's a real difficult draw. And as you said, there is a couple of fast starters in the lineup. In terms of the competition as a whole, I thought Tribal Sid before the competition was probably the right favourite. I know he did drift out at 9-1 in a place before the competition. I'm sure they got plenty of business at that price. I thought Ballycowan Connor was one at a massive price, 3-digit price. Slightly disappointed on Saturday night. He didn't come away, but he's a greyhound I could see still at a fancy price. I wouldn't be surprised if he went to the final, but in terms of predicting the winner, very much in the Tribal Sid camp.
You sound like a man trying to will it into existence. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if we made the final, Tommy. Guess who's on it each way prices? I'd suggest. Is there anything that stands out for yourself, Tommy, at current prices? I'll be honest. I had a little nibble on a dog yesterday. I backed Droopy's Bookham each way at 25-1. I really like the way he won. Yes, he'll find dogs in front of him most nights, but he's got trap one the next night, and if he does mind himself in the early yards, I just wouldn't be surprised if he went reasonably quick. And I think that 25-1 could collapse a little bit. So, yeah, he's the one that I sort of just pinpointed. It's very hard to see past the likes of a Tribal Sid, who is going to go up very, very fast every night. And I think he is a worthy favourite. But, it'll get pretty tight pretty quick.
He'll get pretty tight pretty quick. As a point of making earlier on, like if he was in a race with the other Kobe next week, he'd back the other Kobe because he's going to be on his left. You know. So it's like again, we talk about it in large every single year, and it's about qualifying for the final and the draw being vitally important. How many times have we thought a dog might win the Laurels and then switch to trap one in the final or whatever, thinking that the draw was so key. Like Tribal Sid is 9-2 to win the Laurels. That's short.
Yeah, it is short. Yeah, it is
Evolution has a
short.
great draw now, obviously against, and it's a dog at top before the first round. Didn't have a bet on it around that, but before the first round, thought it was a dog that might improve a bit. I did say to Owen the other night, I thought there was a night in when he was running in Cork previously. There was a night I thought I didn't like him at the bend, and it was just inexperienced. And I was just delighted the other night to see him run the first bend so well in comparison. And obviously he's drawn four and he's inside in the rails pretty quickly. He's in one the next night. It'd be interesting to see what he might do on the clock.
Yeah, he's from a very talented litter. There's like six or seven of them all seem to be capable of doing 28, 20, 28, 30. Yeah,
Mm.
Evolution is an interesting runner. Probably just missed the boat with him. He was 25-1 and
Yeah,
33-1, I think,
exactly.
before the off.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not taking
Um,
10 to 1 now. I'm not taking 10 to
no,
1 now,
no,
no way.
certainly not. Gentlemen, we'll move on. We're going to touch upon, oh, sorry, Barry, is there one, you mentioned Ballycount Connor, but anything else that sort of caught the eye a bit?
No, I'm happy enough with the two of those. I'll stick with him. As I said, look, Ballycowan Connor didn't show his true running on Saturday night, but wasn't helped by a slow start. But he still showed a bit of pace in the feet. And as I said, look, he's going to be on the outside of the track too. He's going to be well drawn. He's capable of big runs, 28, 20, 28, 30, no problem to him. So just could be one that under the radar for Dean Harper, who has produced some nice greyhounds as well. So just one of the fancy price.
Yeah, yeah. Now, speaking of prices, I'm happy with my 2-1 about Tono Charlie to win the Irish Cambridgeshire. He's currently installed at 1-3 for the final, and I genuinely think that's value. I think he probably should be 1-6. He made it 15 in a row the other evening, Tommy. You've been missing for the last couple of weeks. You didn't get your chance to once again repeat your admiration for Tono Charlie. He's now 15 in a row. He's bidding to make it 16 in a row. We haven't been in this sort of territory since Mega Delight. She was beaten in her bid for 16 in a row in the final of the Barry's T750 at Curraheen Park many years ago. She was 1-3 in the final. I think Tono Charlie may end up being shorter. He was 2-7 to win his semi-final 40-79. A week after breaking the clock with a 40-73 return, he wins by 10 lengths from Droopy's comrade. He is pretty remarkable.
And you know what's funny about it? He went from doing 12.79 the previous week to 12.91. He lost 12 spots early and still went to it within 6 spots of the time he'd done the previous.
Yeah.
Like he's got the constitution of a lion, this dog. Actually it's funny. I was talking to a fellow the other night who works in Limerick, in Limerick track, and he said to me, he said, we saw something special last night. And I was kind of going, yeah, we've kind of been watching him for a while actually. But he said, you know what I do with that dog? He says, I go straight to the Derby.
Yeah,
He says his section.
you missed the conversation we had beforehand. Do you concentrate in the sequence if he wins on Saturday, or do you go for the Derby? And for me, there's no money in the sequence. There's only one Derby, so like it's a no-brainer. You take him on, you go there. But
Yeah,
what's your thoughts?
you don't either want you don't want to put him in a position where he might get into trouble in
Yeah.
races. You know what I mean? If you he's got to be, people love their greyhounds, and like this fella's extra special. I don't know. He pops out. He gives you no chance whatsoever. He doesn't relent. He gallops all the way for 750, and maybe he could win a couple of heats of Derby. Would he win a Derby? I tell you what, if he won a derby, they may call the awards after him, like the Leicester like the Leicester in horse racing. Everything from now on should be the two owner
Yeah.
charities. Because if
Yeah.
you if he's been that good over six bends, if he could win a derby, I mean, he
Yeah,
would
you
be,
go,
in my opinion, the greatest greyhound I've ever seen
you're
by
going back
a
you're going back to Susie Sapphire times where she could have won. I think she did win three awards on the night. Um, he's raced over 553 times, and two of them were victories. Sorry, he's raced over 550 more times. He's raced over 554 times. He's won two of his four. He has a 29.48 around Limerick for the 550. Yeah, that would have won most heats of the Ledger. And he has also won in 30 seconds around Limerick coming from off the pace. The other night he led. I think he's shown the early speed to suggest he could lead in certain
it's a
rounds of the
trapping in.
Derby. Yeah.
It's a trapping, but even the man I talked to tonight, he does clocks around Limerick, and he was saying to me like, you see him coming out of traps, and still he was 12 spots behind. He thought he blew the lids the other night. He must have. What did he do the previous night? Did he bend the bars or what? He must have to do 12.79.
Yeah, no, he's pretty remarkable, and the fact that it's been, we're talking 15 races: Kilkenny, Cork, Shelbourne, Tralee, Limerick. It's all comers, all okay,
I
all of
mean,
them are, or most of them are. In fact, all of the sequence has been over six bends, but like it's still pretty remarkable. Like the closest any dog has got to him is Ballyhooly TJ in the final of the Cork Cullen, but he definitely came back on that night. He'd probably put in so much effort the previous two rounds, but even since then, it just seems like his lung capacity has even got bigger because his runs have taken off since then. If he'd been running in the Cork Cullen like he's running now, he could have easily broken 41 seconds around Shelbourne Park pretty comfortably. As it is, he's only 41.01 around Shelbourne, which is still, I think, the second fastest time ever. You know what I mean? It just goes to show what we're talking about. Barry,
I
have you seen him in the flesh?
Yeah, look, we were lucky enough to see him in Cork, and I think actually before he built up that winning sequence, I think he ran around Cork there once or twice. But look, he's a joy to watch. He's running on a whatever Friday or Saturday night. You're at home, sitting down watching EastEnders or whatever you're watching, and the first thing you're doing is checking the results to see if he has won. And I'm sure that's the case for so many people around the country. And in fairness, like Sharon Hunt and his team have kept him in some order because there's been no mistakes. It's unbelievable, really.
Yeah, I
do you
actually
know
think he's actually getting better, Tommy.
do you know what the best thing about him is in all the track records that are being broken around the country, and there are loads of them at the moment, and and all these dogs doing 27 this and 27 that, and we're still talking about 750 dogs.
Yeah,
That is good. I know you like your 750s, but not everybody does, or we don't normally get, there seems to be an affection for them. I suppose the fact that we have a platform here to actually talk about it, because we do, how often when people talk about the MCP group 750 in Tralee, or even the Cambridgeshire might get lost at times and sort of stuff. So the fact that we're even talking about 750 dogs, he's done a lot. He's done a lot for
yeah,
the game.
he sure has. He's a truly exceptional talent, and I know where I'd be going with him anyway. That's all I'm saying, right? What do you do otherwise? You wait for the 750 Derby final night and hope that it fills, even though Tono Charlie's entered in it. You look then at the Winter Racing Festival. All of a sudden, you're up to 18. You still have to. Oh, where are we going to get a race from? Where are we trying to get? Forget the sequence. Forget the sequence. Listen, we'll give him the award for the top sequence. I know he is to get to 20 to beat Peruvian. He's to get 20 to match Peruvian style, which I believe is still the record in Ireland. But listen, who's to say he wouldn't do it in four rounds of the Derby? Anyway, that's Tono Charlie. He's been absolutely unbelievable. And he genuinely, I think he's getting better. I
Yeah.
genuinely think he's getting better with every run. You know, if you look at his early starts over 750 yards or 725 yards around Kilkenny, they're nothing compared to what he's doing now. Like he's just like he's smashed the track record in Tralee, smashed the track record in Limerick. And it's like those are two of the tracks that actually do run 750s, have had good quality 750-yard dogs, and he's absolutely destroying them. Like Druby's comrade in any other normal year would be in talk for like one of the top stayers in the country. Beaten 10 lengths by Tono Charlie the other night, just 41-49, like 41-49, with 95% of 750s around Limerick normally. It wouldn't have won the opening semi-final as it happens because Kinturk Road, the reigning stayer of the year, won in 41-37. Tommy, I'll let you talk about her because I know you've been she's certainly one of my favorites. You've had plenty of words about her in the past. She wins by 3.5 lengths. That's a veritable street for Kinturk Road.
Oh, that was showboating. That's what that was. Now, I think that was unnecessary. I think, and she just keep a couple of those lengths for herself for next week. No,
Yeah.
in fairness, she looked like she had gone off the boil a bit, and in the last maybe 6 or 8 weeks, she's back to. Is it her best? It probably is, or it's very close. If it's not, it's very close to it. She do in quite the opposite way to Tuono Charlie. She gives her rivals at least a glimmer of a chance. She doesn't tend to be going that far. Even going down to the third bend the other night, she gave them in behind. Maybe got let them go back to a length. She probably lets them go back to about 2 lengths on the crown of the last two bends, and then just pulls away again. So she keeps it a bit more exciting than Tuono Charlie does.
Yeah, the good news is for supporters of Tono Charlie, who yeah, of course, I am one. He's back into trap two where he did his 1279 with Bosco on his inside and Arlo Rocco on his outside. So I'd suggest now that as odds on chances go, that 1 to 3 isn't a bad price. We are going to mention another race on the undercard from Tralee or Limerick, should I say, because there was a track record done in the semi-finals of the O'Connor Julian Vets Cashel 8-2 tri distance. It was over the 575-yard distance, and it was That's It Jack, a son of Malachy, out of Clongeen Mills, owned by Liam Cahill and Tony Lacey. 30-80. He has a nice card, this dog now. Like he's A2 only by name, to be honest, because he's straight out of A2 company, and he should have been out of A2 company. He had a 30.98 in his previous run over the 575, and he'd won a 550 in 29.69. So I'm not sure what way this competition works, but when he does finish his run next week in the final, he's well and truly into AA company, and I would suggest just looking at that campaign that they've given him. I would suggest it's not a surprise. I'd say he's a fair tool. Barry, anytime you're breaking 31 seconds for 570, 575, it's impressive. But to break a track record on Limerick would be a special time for Liam and Tony, the lucky owners.
Yeah, definitely. Look, he started off his career. He was sent off the 1 to 2 favourite down in Clonmel, clocked 28.79. So he was obviously a ground with a big future ahead. And he's delivered some stunning performances over the course of the last 3 weeks. 29.69, of course, for the 550, 30.98, and then this unbelievable track record of 30.80. And when you consider, in the following heat, a couple of real nice trackers in that semi-final, that was one in 21.37. This was a sensational performance, and I'm sure they'll be dreaming big going forward.
Yeah, he'll have the tri distance final next week, and I would suggest he'll probably be hitting the road then because he'll have no option. He's in top company, and on the evidence the other evening, he's more than capable of contesting in it. Tommy, there was another track record this time at Tralee. You know, this Pat Guilfoyle fella can train a greyhound, owned by Thomas O'Keefe. They have obviously the champion stakes winner, the Dale Road Duke dog, and now they have Dale Road Devon to look forward to. He's bred in the purple. Ballymac Cashout, who is starting to fly as a sire, has to be mentioned. His
Mm.
dogs are really motoring at present out of Mystical Luna. She has been throwing them. This fellow is a brother to a dog called Unanimous Roxy, or a bitch called Unanimous Roxy, who looks a very talented type for Pat Buckley. And the previous litter has, certainly Short Grip, Juvenile Derby runner-up, really one of the top class puppies from last year, top class lady. Groucho's Duke was a top class performer. And then you have others like Magical Luna, who's turned into a really brilliant stayer over in the UK. So bred in the purple, and this fellow just did it rightly. He's third to hit the ground, showed terrific early speed on the very short run to the corner, showed real immediate early speed, and goes on to win pretty comfortably 6 lengths in 26.70. It was a hell of a run from a dog having his first run over 4 beds.
Yeah, again, I don't know much about the trip Um, in terms of how much they do it. Say that they do a nice bit of racing. They don't really. I'm just looking it up here. Not a huge amount of racing at it, but it's actually it's a good test of a dog. Early dash, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Um, he's probably we could do what we've been doing for the last few months. We say, oh, he's a Laurels dog. He's a Laurels dog. with that sort of early pace, they might think he's obviously a Derby class dog. I do think though, just chatting, and it'll be into. I'm not saying he has any issue in this regard, but I just did have a chat with a couple of lads the other night. I'm just saying too, it will be interesting to see how the Derby pans out in terms of early pacers and how they cope with it in the over the course of 6 weeks
Yeah.
in November, kind of that sort of time of the year. Just
I
be
had the,
interesting. But like
I actually
he
I had that discussion with someone the other evening, and I do point out that the previous track records were the track record is broken in November. Shelbourne
no
Park is
that
often
no
flown in November. It's a case of there will be one or two nights where it'll be wetter and
that's
colder, and that will have the effect on certain dogs. And we'll get to them in a moment. Let's get back to Delroad Devon. Barry, he's at the right place. He's with Pat Guilfoyle. He is a November or December whelp. Very interesting to see what they do with him.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I spoke to Tom on the podcast after his champion stake success with Dale Duke, and he was singing about this ground. So no surprise to see him deliver some top class performances over the course of the last couple of weeks. And he's going to take some stopping in this competition over the next couple of weeks. I think he was 50 spots quicker than his nearest rival. 27:20 I think was the second quickest. So yeah, looks super talented, and I suppose the way he's been campaigned with the kind of starting off in the sprinting trips and the 500 yards, he's obviously a ground with massive early speed. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see where exactly his future lies. But one thing for sure, he's an exciting ground to say the least.
Yeah, in fact, the second fastest qualifier was the dog that was behind him. Drummer Jack, he's doing 27:12. After that, the fastest heat winner was 27:20, 27:22. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens with Delroad Devon, whether they be tempted to come up the road with him. I don't know. Given his pedigree, I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed the trip. He stayed at 550,
yeah.
but he probably is a touch young. Well, listen, he'll be nearly 2 years of age by the time the Derby finals run. Oh, I don't know. There's only one derby. How many times do you get a chance to run one in it? Very interesting. Very interesting. Of course, they do have Dale Road Duke, so it'll be interesting to see if they need to run him in it. That was the action from Tralee. We just wanted to mention that track record. Obviously, he's a hell of a greyhound. Certainly one to keep an eye on going forward. Going to Waterford briefly, Barry, two big finals, of course, on the weekend. We saw the final of the Casey's Caravan and Camping Park open on race. And it went to White Nose Hawk, a son of Druby Sydney, had a powerful mush. Quickaway always led 28:65, a big dog. For Willie O'Connor, good to see Willie winning a big competition. 28:65, a nice winner. Druby's Maximus was the favourite, but just couldn't quite get there from trap five, missed the break and did stay on well. We've briefly mentioned him earlier on, but a nice winner.
Yeah, definitely. A lot to like about that performance because the likes of Burn Bucko and Droopy's Maximus, who was sent off favourite, Radical Scooby, they'd all shown plenty of pace in previous rounds, but the winner really put it to bed early, stormed down the outside of the track and ran very well. I think he's value for much more at 28:65. Track was definitely on the slow side on Saturday night.
He was the only dog to break 29 seconds on the night, and looking at the clocks, like it's not the speedy Waterford you expect to see. Like this could be a hell of a run.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, look, I was speaking to one or two people at the weekend. They said, look, track was definitely running very slow on Saturday night. So, yeah, look, he's a ground with a nice future, owned by Willie O'Connor, ex Kilkenny hurler, I believe. So, well done to Willie. And of course, we also had the other big final, the feature final, of course, the Dave Collins Memorial Munster Oaks final, sponsored by Jag Building Services, €7,500 to the winner, won by the Graham Holland trained Hello Rose, who delivered a 29:08 winning performance in the final. I was delighted to see this win, owned by Liam Mannix. The Mannix family are great supporters of Greyhound racing, never afraid to put their hand in their pocket, and they were duly rewarded with a nice prize there on Saturday night.
Yeah, your heart goes out to the connections of Legit News, who finds herself 5 or 6 lengths clear, but she checks up badly
Mm.
around the last two bends, and she may well have been picked up by Four Hello Rose, who was really motoring at that point. And Legit News does tend to stay wide, but she checks up. She obviously sees something, and it's just one of those things. Um, but no, good to see Hello Rose winning for connections. They paid a few quid for her out of she won a good competition at Shelbourne Park. It was Liam O'Connor and the boys that owned her, Tommy. Hello Rose. She was a real professional in the early yards. What is it? And Hello Rose comes in. That's what Liam O'Connor always says every night of the week. Hello Rose that came through the land of spoils, Tommy.
Yeah, they had Hello Mom as well. She last year she won plenty of races for
Yeah,
them, didn't she?
yeah, she did. Yeah,
Yeah.
she did. Yeah, no, she's a nice type. Hello
I
Rose.
agree. I agree with you on that. Barry was saying to me the other night, we were chatting on the way home from Curraheen Park, and he was just saying about that there was a bit of there was consternation about the track being very slow and the likes of that. There was but Legit News that was just desperate. I just it seemed to like it looked like there was a shadow on the wall even where it seemed to run
Yeah,
towards, and maybe it checked up, and you know what, as you say, it might have been picked up, but the way they were catching it at that point, it obviously had spotted something long before
mhm,
they got to it. So it's just very unfortunate. It showed
yeah,
lovely early pace and was a good bit clear. But Barry makes a great point about the Mannix is winning, and that they're part of this whole core of greyhound racing that's so vitally important and doesn't always get the due reward. Those people who are willing to put a hand in the pocket and buy greyhounds and keep the money cycling, keep the greyhounds moving around, and kind of keep the whole game moving effectively. They're part
yeah.
of the oil in the whole machine, if you ask me. So well done to them. Great
No,
result.
here. We are running low on time, so we'll race to the Shelbourne Park stuff, which is something I don't always say. A couple of big finals the other evening, and the final of the upcoming Yvonne Barry Open Dual Distance. That doesn't mean that the Yvonne Barry stake coming up as a dual distance. It's actually the 600. So it's the upcoming Yvonne Barry 600 open dual distance, it should be. But anyway, JT Craze landed the spoils. He's a dog with loads of ability. He'll certainly go into the Derby. So too will Rapido Bob, who was second. Rapido Bob looked a likely winner for much of the way, flashed out, led in the early yards, and cleared on the back straight. But JT Craze started to rapidly make up ground at the third bend, went through on the inside around the last two bends, and got to the front. Rapido Bob was rallying in the closing stages, but JT Craze holding on for 3 parts of a length. Obviously, Lee Craze and John Turner put plenty of money into the game. Paul Hennessy, good to see Paul with a good winner. €3,500 to the winner. Dashing Toro, again showing loads of pace back in third spot. Hasn't just quite happened for him in Shelbourne Park, but it will. Ryhope Beach for once didn't, or contrary or in contrast to his semi-final success when getting loose early, Ryhope Beach missed the kick and found traffic on the corner. He finished back in fifth spot. But JT Craze, a good winner. The other final winners on the night were Stripe Sparky. 32.25. Good winner for Ned Freeman. And this fellow showed good speed up the outside, took a bump on the corner from his challenger, Jade's Rocket, but went on to win by 5 lengths. He was too strong once taking control off the second bend and won very well. And the other final on the card was, excuse me, there was an open 525. Where was it? Bear with me. This is great content. Oh yeah, Phoenix Memphis, a dog with tremendous early speed. Well done to Ian Riley. Good to see Ian with a nice type. This Phoenix Memphis is going to be some sport for the Kyo Cunningham Riley syndicate. He's a lovely turn of early speed. Bet every inch to win in 28.20. We also had the opening round heats of the Paddy Merriman Memorial. Fastest of the heat winners was Toolmaker Note in the penultimate race, which is a good sign in itself. Thought it was getting a bit cooler as the evening went on. 28.09 wins by 6 lengths from Scooby the Boss, who I was sort of thinking would be the most likely out winner of the competition. Scooby the Boss, he sort of got held up badly early by Old Tricks, and when he got loose showed loads of spot, but he's beaten 6 lengths by Toolmaker Note. Other heat winners of note: Toolmaker Stone Park Hoff, excuse me, 28.36. Good to see him staying the trip. Another good winner was there was a good winner early on, beg your pardon. Oh yeah, Torpedo Turtle won very well for Jack Kennelly in 28.23. Not a wink. Mino Minito stayed the trip. Dusty Chief, and the other heat winner was, bear with me, Margin of Error. And they were the 7 heat winners of the Paddy Memorial Memorial A1 competition. It's going to turn into a cracking little stake. And last but certainly not least, we're going to let you speak about this one, Tommy, briefly, because Seven Beach 2809. He's a dog that's always had loads of promise. Jennifer Donnell's won the last two derbies, and we were wondering where her derby challenger was going to come from. Well, Seven Beach has all of a sudden found a consistency and a level of performance to suggest he could be a big player going into the derby. He's after winning his last four starts. He won in 29-13 at Kilkenny. In July, then a few weeks later, won by three parts of length from the Foxy Devil in 28-23 at Shelbourne Park. Seemed to finding his form. A massive 29-18 at Shelbourne Park for the 550 on the August 10th. He clocked stunningly well to the third bend on that occasion. Then did a 27-96 and the other evening beat a field of professional early pacers, the likes of YI Bonnie Lad, Check for Cash, Carrick Aldo, Swords Hero, and Sonia in Grande. 7-4 favourite, wins in 28-09. I think it's safe to say, Tommy, this fellow is running into the form of his career.
Do you know what? We kind of thought that last year during the derby that it was just the type of dog that was going to take a bit of time. He just looked a little bit green and all the ability was there. I love this performance for many reasons. I'm glad you asked me about this race specifically because there was a few things to note about it. When it's put up to you by YI Bonnie Lad, who is a professional early pacer, a proper early pacer, and you can match him early and then take over down the back and run away to do 28-09. Seven Beach is in superb form and definitely a dog that you've been in consideration for the derby. YI Bonnie Lad has having its first run since July. It was a huge effort, absolutely huge effort. When
Big run,
Seven
yeah.
Beach went by it didn't fold. I thought it might go back and finish third or fourth, to be honest about it. The fact they finished second, if that isn't a dog begging to break 28 seconds, I don't know what I'm talking about, which I probably don't. Also interested on the Caroline, I thought she'd said to Barry before the draw for the Laurels, I was hoping Stone Park Hoffa might be in it because he was after doing 17:30 and taking the eye out. And in fact, one night when he won a sprint, he beat Trina's Tribe, who won a heat at the Laurels the other night. Did he fully stay the other night? I'm not so sure, but does he
Yeah.
have to when you're doing what the air showing the early pace? I thought from the third bend home, it was pretty evident that it was just that it was catching up with him. But you know what? He's an 81-pound dog that could mature and strengthen. I was hoping maybe it's because of that size and whatever that they didn't want to bring him to Curraheen again for the 525 and just let him develop. This seems to be a stake that a lot of people have kind of have been minding greyhounds for this Paddy Merriman Memorial. A lot of greyhounds had a similar sort of a profile. I'd love to see him strengthen up and stay 525 fully. And I tell you, he could be a bit of a machine if he did. Because the night
Yeah.
he did 17:30, he was immensely impressive.
Last race on the card, 15.90 to the third bend,
Yeah,
28.36. He's coming home in 14 or 12.36, 12.46. Like, that's not staying. You're right. He will strengthen up for it. It was his first 525 in quite some
yeah,
time. Very interesting. I thought there was a number of dogs at Shelbourne on Saturday night that could have been in the Laurels. But
yeah.
people have made that choice. Now, when you see the likes of Michael O'Donovan and Liam Dowling, does Liam Dowling have any runner in the Laurels?
No.
No, like they're obviously keeping an eye on proceedings at Dublin, and I think people have realised, you can test the Laurels now. All of a sudden, you could leave whatever derby chances you have behind. Now, I'm sure they had runners that they could have, but whatever for whatever reason they've bypassed it and targeting Shelbourne Park. We haven't mentioned Bocco's Diamond, who trialled at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. He did a 15:68. I wrote about it this morning. Was it the fastest time ever at the third bend since that clock went in? I believed that it was with Droopy's Optimum, but I was corrected. Hawkfield Ozark did a 15:66 to the third bend. He absolutely took off that night. I do remember the night in question.
Yeah.
So Hawkfield Ozark 15:66, but Bucko's Diamond 15:68. In normal circumstances, Tommy, he could nearly have been 3-1 favourite to win the Laurels from the outset, but he has gone down the Derby route, and they have given him a couple of spins around Shelbourne Park. He's very much, I would suggest, the dog to beat in the Derby. Callaway Kinnegare remains the favourite, but given his early speed and the fact that he's a seeded greyhound, Bucko's Diamond, I would be amazed if he's not favoured for the Derby come the opening round.
I'd be that poor if he gets beaten in the derby as well. I think he potentially. What strikes me is that he's potentially the best greyhound I've ever seen, and I know we haven't seen an awful lot of him. But what he was doing to Broadstrand Sid and what Broadstrand Sid is capable of is just amazing me, and not just a one track. And it wasn't that it's at two tracks. He is potentially an utter machine. We talked about we haven't a few weeks ago we mightn't have that many superstars at the moment. We have enough of them to enjoy, I think.
I'll tell you what, the night that Callaway Kinagare and Bucko's Diamond
Yeah.
meets, throw in one or two of the other
Throw
superstars
Charlie.
around, like all of a sudden, tell me we don't have superstars. Barry Drake,
Yeah.
you saw Bucko's Diamond in the flesh, you've seen Broadstrand sit in the flesh, you've seen all these dogs in the flesh. Callaway Kinagare, of course, he's very much a Shelbourne dog. I think it's aiming just lovely now for the Derby. Of course, we have the Laurels to get by first, but I think the Derby's going to be pretty hot.
Yeah, and the two grounds you mentioned there, Callaway, Kenny-Gare and Bocco's Diamond, probably delivered the best performances in quite some time at Curraheen Park. They're probably going back to the likes of Germano Bucco when he looked, the real superstar back then. And yeah, two performances of the year definitely have come from Bocco's Diamond and Callaway, Kenny-Gare on debut on that occasion around Cork. So yeah, roll on the Derby as well, but we'll concentrate on the Lars now for the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be a great event, as it always is in Cork.
It is a great event, and it's going to come. It has to be pointed out. It's going to come to a head on October 5th. It's live on Virgin Media Television. It's great to have terrestrial TV covering what should be a wonderful, wonderful final night. Always one of the great supported nights. We'll be all down there. We're going to have a great night. Gentlemen, I'm going to leave you with one more piece of advice. Take a look at Hope's Kitty winning a race at Limerick on Saturday night. All right. I like by six bend runners. She won in 28.77, wins by half a length. I'd say she was 10 back. She's absolutely run away from into the escape. If this one doesn't make a serious stayer in the future, I am a Dutchman. No, Hope's Kitty. Keep that one on your radar. It's well worth your while taking a look at her. She's in January 23. Tullig Suriname out of Nice Mystery. Nice Mystery is thrown some plenty of fast greyhounds, and she might well have a contender in the Laurels as well. Am I right in saying that? Is our cracker out of Nice Mystery? He is. Well, this lady will definitely stay further. She is a future stayer in the making, no question about it. Hope's Kitty. That's where I want to finish. Any other business, gentlemen, before we go?
No, that's about it. Look, as I said, looking forward to the next 4 weeks. The lads in Cork have done, Trojan work. Brian Collins, Darren Hogan, all the Curraheen Park supporters, club team. So yeah, very much a place to be over the next couple of weeks, and looking forward to seeing everyone down there.
And your Laurels winner, Tommy?
Yeah. Next week, I'll tell you next week.
Barry?
Tribal
Sid. Good man, Barry. I'm with you. I think he is the greyhound to beat. That's it, though, from us on Talking Dogs on the Monday. We have loads to talk about again next week. We'll be focusing once again, though, on the Barwon Racing Irish Sprint Cup. That's it from us on this Monday evening. We'll see you next time. Good luck. Good evening. God bless.